Hey, what's up, guys? I haven't done an actual video response and a straight up video response in a long while, but here's one right here, and this one goes out to Sammy. For those who don't know, that is Samuel T. Geek. He does videos on this gaming community like a lot of us do, but he's been more like to himself than everybody else has. He hasn't been doing video responses, all stuff like that. But whatever, go check out his channel. But anyways, yesterday he put up two videos. And basically, the main point he wanted to get across was that Sony and Nintendo are irrelevant in the handheld space, and the 3DS and Vita aren't going to sell jack squat because everybody is just going to stick with their smartphones and the smartphone games. And, like I do, I'm basically going to come through and destroy these points. So let's get started. Okay, firstly, I'm going to answer your question, Sammy, because he kept asking this question. And the question he always asked was, who is the audience for the 3DS and the Vita? Who is the audience? Let me answer your question, Sammy. The audience is the Nintendo fans and the Sony fans. And I don't know why I have to point this out, because that should be a given. It's kind of common sense. Of course, a Nintendo fan would buy a Nintendo system. Of course, a Sony fan would buy a Sony system. So, that they're always going to have that core base of fans that will always buy the systems. I'm a Nintendo fan, I'm a Sony fan. Therefore, I'll be buying the Vita and I'll be buying the 3DS. So, that's one answer to your question right there. Secondly, look, I'm a nice guy. I'm giving you multiple answers. Secondly, the people who prefer buttons. The people who prefer, actual good control over their games. People who like tactile feedback, physical, touchable buttons. I shouldn't have to spell this out either. And I said this in your video, and you didn't reply to the comment. Kind of tells me something. But anyways, buttons make all the difference. Like I said in the comments, Sammy, buttons make all the difference. And if you're really gonna argue against that, then you might as well not even make a video. Just keep that to yourself. Because people might start thinking some things about you. But thirdly, the people who can't afford it. Like, I gave you three answers. The fan base that will always be there. The people who will always prefer buttons and people who want a deeper gaming experience. And the people who can afford it. Now, Sammy, you kind of contradicted yourself. Because you said smartphones are cheap nowadays. So, but at the same time, you try to say that the economy is rough. People can't afford a smartphone and a gaming machine. But you contradicted yourself by saying smartphones are cheap because the handheld systems are cheap as well. Not only can you buy a cheap PSP and DS right now, but 3DS, it's just $170. $170, that's not much. The Vita is cheap compared to what it actually costs to make. Just $250. That's not much, Sammy. The economy isn't that bad. It really isn't. Somebody who brings home, a normal, $5,000 paycheck, each two weeks, they can afford a smartphone and a 3DS. My smartphone, it may be a loser smartphone nobody's heard about. I haven't seen anybody with this. I'm like the only person I've seen who has the smartphone. It's an LG Vortex. Costing me $30. Not because it was a plan. Not a plan. Just $30. Straight up $30 for this. $30. And it has the full package. It's not a GIMP smartphone either. I have a 3G hotspot, Wi-Fi hotspot, whatever it's called. Of course, GPS, web browser, all those things, It has the full package. 3.2 megapixel camera. Decent camera, 480p. For 480p videos, it's decent. $30. So if somebody could buy a $30 smartphone, they could buy a $170 3DS as well. That's just $200 altogether. That's not much. That's not a lot, Sammy. People can afford smartphones. You said yourself, smartphones are cheap. So if smartphones are cheap and 3DSs are cheap, then people can afford both. It's just $170. $170 is not a lot. That is a bargain. $170 for a 3DS and $250 for a Vita, for that matter. That's a bargain. And I'll be buying both those systems. So those are three answers to your question, Sammy. quick recap. Who's the audience for the 3DS and the Vita? The loyal fans, the people who like just playing with buttons, who prefer buttons, and the people who can't afford both. If a little kid has a smartphone, he's like, Mommy, can I get a 3DS? You know, and the mom sees the 3DS is 170, like, she'll get it. She'll get it. It's, any middle class citizen can like afford a smartphone and 3DS these days. It's that simple. But here's the main point I want you to focus on, Sammy. And this point is pretty much just going to destroy, both your videos, just period. Smartphones are to the handheld systems as PCs are to the consoles. It's that easy. I shouldn't have to explain this, but I know there's a lot of slow people on here, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Basically, Sammy was saying nobody's going to get a 3DS and a Vita because they want a machine that can do everything. They're just going to stick to their smartphone because the smartphone can play games and do more than the 3DS and the PS Vita. But isn't it the same thing with the PC? Exactly. And the PC has been superior for over a decade now. It's always been superior. So Sammy, that completely destroys your argument because despite the PC being able to play games, like you said, the smartphone could play games. Why would you buy a 3DS and Vita? PC could play games. Why would people buy consoles? But you see them still buying consoles, don't you? Okay, so despite the PC, 80 million Wii sales, 50 million 360 sales, 50 million PS3 sales, 180 million consoles sold despite a superior alternative. Just like you're trying to say with the smartphones. And actually, it's actually kind of different with the PC considering the fact that superior multiplats are actually on there. And you can actually get a good full gaming experience on here due to actual tactile buttons, or in this case, keyboards. But you can hook up pads, your gamepad to it, your 360 controller, PS3 controller, whatever. You got mods. You got free online. You got I can't even call it cross game chat. You got chat for whatever, whenever, for free. Superior online, superior graphics, superior control scheme, superior options. You got mods. Despite all that, 180 million consoles sold. So that right there destroys your argument, Sammy. I mean, think about it. Web browser, like I said, video chat, 6-way video chats, 8-way video chats, whatever. You can do whatever you want on the PC, whatever you want. Illegal downloads, free music, free movies, hey. But people still buy consoles. So that right there destroys your argument. Why will people still buy a 3DS and a Vita over their smartphone? The same reason why people will buy a console over a PC. And when it comes down to it, Sammy, it's the games. It really is. It's the games. It's the games. You try to say, you can't use the exclusives argument. So you don't try to say that for the consoles either. Oh, well, people prefer the consoles because they're exclusives. Because you said that the people defending the 3DS and the Vita, that they couldn't use exclusives as an argument. It's not that big of an argument. You said that yourself. So you can't use that argument for the consoles. So don't even try. So that right there single-handedly destroys your argument. If people will buy consoles over a PC, they will buy the 3DS and Vita over a smartphone, especially considering the fact that the 3DS and Vita are superior to smartphones when it comes to games. See what I'm saying? Now, I lost my train of thought. Excuse me. Oh, yeah. Another point he tried to make was, why do people buy a $40 game when there's a $1 game? Well, let's just say this, Sammy. There's a reason why it's $1. There's a reason why it's $1. It's $1 for a reason. Because it's ultra simplistic. It lacks depth. It's not deep. It's not rich. That's why, Sammy. In this situation, in this particular scenario, you get what you pay for. You pay a $1 game on a smartphone, you get $1 worth of entertainment. The thing you try to do, Sammy, you try to make it seem like Angry Birds is on the same level as freaking Resident Evil Revelations, or Uncharted on the Vita. Like, no, there's a reason why those games are $40. When it comes to this situation right here, Sammy, the file size says something. If it's a 1 MB game, it's not gonna be that. It's not gonna be that deep. It's not gonna be that complex. So basically, like I said, you get what you pay for, Sammy. And people aren't stupid. They realize that nobody's gonna say, "Oh, why would I buy a $1 game when I can buy $40 games?" Sammy, people realize that these games are real games. They realize that they're more full-fledged. They realize that, Sammy. They're not idiots. They're not idiots, Sammy. Nobody's gonna say, why would I buy Mario Kart for $40 when I could buy Angry Birds for $1? With Angry Birds $1, you're doing one input command. That's how you play Angry Birds. Where in Mario Kart, they're gonna have local multiplayer, online play, just more content in general. It's a more full-fledged game. That's why it's $40. It's $40 for a reason. It's that simple, Sammy. It's not that hard to understand. It really isn't. It really is not that hard to understand. Like, it is that simple. You're paying $40 because you're getting more. You're paying $1 on smartphones because you're getting less. It's that easy. It's that easy. Another thing that completely destroys your argument, the 3DS, the DS and the PSP were selling strong all the way up to the 3DS and Vita announcements. And that's while the smartphones were going strong. 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, both systems were going strong. Both systems were going strong for all those years. And that's when smartphones started to, really take off. In between 2008 till now. That's where smartphones have really exploded. So Sammy, if two old systems, outdated systems like the DS and PSP will still be selling in freaking 2010 with this smartphone explosion, then why the heck would a 3DS and Vita not sell? You see, it makes no sense, Sammy. It makes no sense. And another thing, Japan. As long as Japan exists, Sony handheld systems and Nintendo systems will always get billions and billions of sales. Exaggeration, of course. As long as Nintendo keeps rolling out the Mario in Japan, okay, as long as they have the single card play and that stuff, a Nintendo system, handheld system will always sell in Japan. As long as there's Monster Hunter games on the Sony handheld systems, it will always sell in Japan. It will always sell. But yes, that's pretty much. I think that's enough. That pretty much destroys the argument. But I'm gonna say one more thing. And this is don't take this as a main point. It's kind of just an assumption on my part. I'm calling it an assumption, so you don't have to tell me that it is one. But if Microsoft came out with the handheld system, Sammy, as far as I can tell, you would buy it. You would buy it. You know good and well you would probably buy it, Sammy. I'm not calling you a 360 fanboy. But, you generally do prefer the 360 and the 360 exclusives. If Microsoft came out with the 180 and there was a Halo on there and a Forza, based off what I've seen, Sammy, you would buy that. See, because basically, Sammy, the thing is, you're not interested in these two systems, so you think nobody else is. And I can't stand it when people just think, they use their own feelings to try to and put that reflection on everybody else. No, it doesn't work like that, Sammy. Because you're not interested in the 3DS and Vita doesn't mean everybody else is. Sammy actually said the DS's 120 million user base is gone because of smartphones. 120 million people, and not a single one of them are going to upgrade to a 3DS, people. Not even 50% are going to upgrade to a 3DS. Doesn't that sound crazy? Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, Sammy, because you're not interested in the systems doesn't mean that nobody else is. Stop thinking about yourself. That's your own personal feelings. That's your own little thing you got going in your little corner over there. Don't try to put that on everybody else. That's not how it works. But I think that's enough for this video. Sorry it's a little bit long, but you guys know I like to talk a lot. I like arguing, whatever. But I'll see you guys later.